Representative Banks, thank you for joining us. So for Hoosiers still getting to know you, what's your pitch?
Well, first of all, it's been an honor to serve my country in uniform. I served in Afghanistan. I've served my country in the Congress the last 6 years. With Mike Braun running for governor and leaving the Senate seat open in the 2024 election, I've decided to announce my candidacy. I'm running for the United States Senate because I believe Indiana needs and deserves a conservative in the United States Senate to replace Mike Braun, who has been a reliable conservative himself. I've been a leading conservative voice in the House. I chaired the largest conservative caucus in the House of Representatives and believe strongly that we have to do more to combat and confront the biggest threats to our country, which are China, holding China accountable for stealing our jobs and giving us COVID. We also have to do more to stop wokeism, which is a cancer in our country that's going to kill America from inside and out if we don't do more to stop it. It's taken root on our university and college campuses. We have schools that are pushing critical race theory, anti-Americanism on our kids, and we've seen the same thing being pushed on our troops, and I've been fighting back against it in the House. And then thirdly, we have to do more to confront a $32 trillion national debt. And when I saw some Republican senators go along with Democrats recently and pass a $1.7 trillion omnibus deal without fighting back and pushing back against it, that's when I knew we need more conservative fighters in the Senate to do more to pass balanced budgets and be fiscally responsible with our kids and our grandkids' future. So that's why I'm running for the Senate. I have a strong conservative track record in the House and excited to run for the Senate and go and be Indiana's conservative voice in the United States Senate.
And in your current role, what is it going to take to get the debt ceiling raised?
Well, that fight is right in front of us. We have to use the leverage of the House Republican majority to make reforms to advance fiscal responsibility when it comes to raising the debt limit. We can't just go along to get along and support raising the debt limit or passing massive spending deals. We have to use the leverage of those moments to pass balanced budget amendments and to cut wasteful spending. I'm not going to vote to raise the debt limit unless we make huge reforms and cut wasteful spending at the same time that we do it. So that fight is right in front of us. When I get to the United States Senate, I'm going to be a strong fiscal conservative voice for Hoosiers. That's what they expect out of their senators.
Would those reforms include cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security?
No, we don't have to cut those programs at all. We need to cut wasteful government spending and bureaucracy. We can do that. We've seen Joe Biden spend more money than any president in American history, and the Congress pass bloated spending bills that spend more money than at any point in American history. And we got to stop it. We got to stop voting for these massive spending deals. So when I get to the Senate, I'm going to be the same type of fiscally responsible senator as I've been in the House. I have one of the most fiscally conservative voting records in the House. That's what I want to take to the Senate too.
And speaking of spending, the issue affecting every American right now, gas prices, inflation. If these issues linger into 2024, how do you want to push to address them?
Well, we have record high inflation. We have record high energy costs because we have a out-of-touch Democrat president and Democrats in control of the Senate who have taken us from being a country that was energy independent to being dependent on foreign energy to get by in America. So we have to do what we can to bring back energy production to the United States, invest in energy production right here at home. And that's the type of member of the House I've been, is pushing for those common sense policies. And I'm going to fight back against the Green New Deal, the radical climate change agenda, in an even bigger way in the United States Senate.
Well, and with climate change, the fourth National Climate Change Assessment, which was comprised of 13 federal agencies and released under the Trump administration, it said that the efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions just do not approach the scale needed to avoid substantial damage to the economy, environment, and human health. So do you think that is a pressing issue that the federal government needs to address?
The pressing issue is that radical Democrats have killed off American energy production rather than investing in the United States of America, which is much more environmentally friendly than energy production in foreign countries like Russia and Iran and some of our biggest enemies that we're now relying on for our own to bring energy to the United States. We need to invest right here at home. It'll be more economically and environmentally friendly when we do. So to bring down gas prices, the solution is simple: invest in what we have right here in America, not give money to our enemies like Russia and Iran.
And do you worry that humans are contributing to climate change?
Look, climate change, whatever you want to call it, these are issues that we've seen radical Democrats manipulate to advance their socialist agenda. I want to go to the United States Senate to fight back against the radical socialist agenda that is an attempt to change America from who we are and what we are, the greatest country in the history of the world. And these radical Democrats are trying to kill American energy production, to raise gas prices so out of control that Americans can't afford it. So we all drive electric cars. That's not the America that I know, the America that I love. I want to preserve our American freedoms. That's why I want to be a United States Senator, to be that type of conservative fighter, to fight for our American way of life.
In the House, you supported Kevin McCarthy as Speaker since the beginning. Why?
Well, look, we have a unified Republican majority in the House that understands that the greatest threats to America today are China, the national debt, and the attacks on our education system and wokeism being pushed, anti-Americanism pushed on our kids and on our troops. And Kevin McCarthy, the whole Republican conference, understands that that is our agenda. That's our mission, to fight back against that, to address those threats. And Republicans are unified coming out of the leadership elections last week to focus on that. So Kevin McCarthy and myself and all the Republicans, the Republican conference, we understand that the future of America is depending on us to do what we said we were going to do, follow through on our campaign promises and our commitments. Let me also say that the Speaker fight last week wasn't about Kevin McCarthy. It was about making sure that we never have another Speaker of the House like Nancy Pelosi, who is so powerful and abuses her power in the way that she did. And the rules changes that came out of last week give more power to rank and file members of the House like me and takes power away from the Speaker of the House. That's a healthy outcome for our country, for the Congress, and for the future of America.
So Republicans did take the House in the last election, but there wasn't the red wave that many expected. What do you think that says about voters' belief about the direction of the Republican Party?
Yeah, I think this is really important. We thought it was going to be a red wave and win 30 or 40 seats, and we only have a majority of 4. And I think the biggest reason why is because the voters were skeptical of Republicans, because when Republicans had majorities in the past, they didn't follow through on their campaign promises and their commitments. We saw the last Republican majority when Donald Trump became president. We saw Republican leaders fight with President Trump over issues like building the wall, and didn't deliver on one of the biggest promises that President Trump campaigned on, to build the wall, and we lost the majority because of it. So now we have a chance, even though it's a small majority, to deliver, to secure the border, address the fentanyl crisis in America. Fentanyl is now the leading cause of death of Americans my age because of the wide open border. And we don't have enough conservative fighters in the Senate who are fighting to secure the border and address the biggest humanitarian crisis that our country has ever seen. We don't have enough conservative fighters in the Senate who are fighting to protect girls' sports. I have 3 young daughters, 13, 11, and 9, and I can't believe we live in America today where biological boys are being allowed to compete against my girls in sports. It shouldn't be that way, but that's the agenda that Joe Biden is fighting for. So I want to be the type of conservative leader in the Senate that's fighting against those issues to protect our American way of life, and to make sure that America is the America that I pass on to my kids provides them the same American dream and American opportunities that I've had in my life.
Voters have also said they're looking for more bipartisanship in Congress. What are some issues that you believe you could actually work across the aisle to address?
Well, I think going back to the China threat, we passed a bill this week in the House to create a bipartisan select committee on confronting China. Now, you had about half of the Democrats, or quite a few Democrats vote against it. but it will be a bipartisan committee that will develop a whole of government strategy and approach to hold China accountable and to restore America from what China has done to steal our jobs. They started the pandemic. They were never held accountable for it because of their recklessness. And the Select Committee on China will, in a bipartisan way, investigate what we can do to restore America because of it. That's one big area that we have to address. We got to address the debt, $32 trillion of a national debt, and it's going to take Republicans and Democrats to address it, to get back to fiscal responsibility and balanced budgets. And I hope that Democrats on the other side of the aisle will work with us to cut wasteful spending to get that done.
And final question, in the last week you've tweeted, quote, "The Bidens are the most corrupt family ever to live in the White House." Are you contributing to the partisan divide?
I don't know how you get around the fact that Hunter Biden was taking millions of dollars from our biggest enemies from the Chinese Communist Party, out of Russia, corrupt companies in Ukraine. He was skimming 10% off the top for the big guy. I think we know who the big guy is. And the House Republican majority is going to investigate that corruption and hold the Bidens and the Democrats accountable who abuse their power. That's our job. That's a role of and responsibility of the Congress to provide oversight, accountability, launch investigations into what happened with the deadly and disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. I served in uniform in Afghanistan, and the recklessness, irresponsibility of this administration cost the lives of 13 of our service members, and no one's ever been held accountable for it. So that's the type of accountability that I'm going to provide in the House majority, but when I get to the Senate, I'm going to do it in an even bigger way.
House Representative Jim Banks, he could be Indiana's next U.S. Senator. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.